Welcome back guys. As you could tell, this time around we will be doing something different by covering the main protagonist of the 1998 anime Cowboy Bebop, created by Shinichiro Watanabe, who is also known for Samurai Champloo, which we also have done a fact video on, so if you want to check that out, the link will be in the description below. And guys, like always, before we start, here is a quick reminder for you lot that are in need of some cool anime shirts, hoodies or even accessories. Make sure to head over to Anime Ryo. With the discount code ABD Squad, you can get yourself 10% off everything, and that link will also be in the description and comment section below. With all that out the way, let's cue the intro. Shinichiro Watanabe, the creator of Cowboy Bebop, never really went into the reason why he chose the name Spike Spiegel for his protagonist. He was however quoted as saying they just chose the name because it sounded cool, which it is hard to believe that they would just pick this name out of thin air. But you know what, us being anime balls deep, we did some research into what his name could mean. What came up was definitely noteworthy, as the word Spiegel means mirror in German, where it can usually connote with the verb form to quite simply mean to reflect. This actually embodies Spike's character, as he himself does a lot of reflecting on his past events and is overall seen contemplating a lot throughout the series. Another interpretation of this was that Spike acts as a mirror for others. Now what I mean by this is that Spike usually reveals the truth of what is hidden in plain sight to his peers. He has done this with Jet, Faye, and even Rocco. Spike either intentionally or unintentionally helps reveal what is inside the hearts and mind of the people around him. Now that's a real good friend right there. Even before the creation of Cowboy Bebop, Watanabe had already come up with the initial idea of Spike's character, and from that point onwards, Watanabe tried to build a story around him, trying to make him cool. This itself developed into the Cowboy Bebop series. In an interview, Watanabe stated, "I was influenced by American movies of the 60s and 70s, especially Don Siegel's Dirty Harry, and the films of Sam Peckinpah, and of course, a lot of film noir movies of the 40s. However, while he says that some people try to compare Spike Spiegel to Dirty Harry, in actuality, Watanabe simply wanted to create a mirror image of himself. In his words, Spike is an extension of myself. I don't smoke or drink or fight, but I want to, so Spike does." Overall, Spike was intended to be a cool, typical old-style Japanese man, and in order to portray him as this, Toshihiro Kawamoto designed Spike to look uncool. When he stands still, he has a hunched appearance. This meant that when the character was moving actively, he came across as extra cool. Pretty unique technique if you ask me, as it worked quite well. Now coming on to Spike design and illustration, as briefly mentioned earlier, Spike was illustrated by Toshihiro Kawamoto, who gave Spike pretty basic facial features, black hair, brown eyes, one of which was later revealed as being an artificial, fully functional and cybernetic eye, and as mentioned earlier, Spike's look was intended to be cool and very laid back, where he can be seen slouching most of the time, with a cigarette in hand. In fact, Spike's constant smoking can be considered as a homage to the Japanese manga series Lupin III, as Lupin's partner Jigen smokes cigarettes that are usually in very poor condition. Watanabe actually revealed that Lupin III was a major influence on his work. This is accompanied with the inspiration for Spike's attire, as he often wears a blue leisure suit, yellow shirt, black tie, and his Lupin III inspired boots. It is also stated in the special features section in the Cowboy Bebop movie Knocking on Heaven's Door that Spike's design was primarily based on the main protagonist of the detective series Tantei Monogatari, portrayed by the famous actor Yusaku Matsuda, and if you put them side by side, you can definitely see the similarities. There is also a theory out there that Spike's rebellious demeanor, cigarette smoking, and fluffy hair can be a reference to the famous folk rock musician Bob Dylan, which is not that far out there, considering Watanabe believes that music is a universal language, and he is very particular and distinct about using the proper score in his animes. Also, there is the fact that the movie is literally known in Japan as Knockin' on Heaven's Door, which was an actual song released by Bob Dylan in 1973. However, Spike's character was more than likely inspired by a combination of different characters, not just one. Another cool fact about Spike's look was that his artificial eye was included, as Watanabe wanted his character to have flaws. Initially, Watanabe was going to give Spike an eye patch, but the producers vetoed it, which to be honest I'm glad they did, and replaced it with an artificial eye. Moving on to powers and moves, Spike Spiegel is known for his exceptionally sharp intellect and on-the-spot thinking, which is shown by his neglect for planning ahead. Even so, he has been able to outwit multiple adversaries on numerous occasions, even the entire Red Dragon Syndicate. It just goes to show how accurate his perception really is. Either that, or it is his extraordinary luck that keeps him from near-death situations. He can also do some other tricks like sleight of hand techniques to win card games or slipping things onto a person without them realizing anything. With that, Spike is also capable of pickpocketing objects he likes. He also displayed the ability to swiftly steal by regurgitating objects he swallows, as shown with the casino chip in episode 3 Honky Tonk Woman. Now when it comes to combat, Spike follows the mindset martial arts hybrid fighting style of Jeet Kune Do, created by Bruce Lee himself. A little side note, Jeet Kune Do includes technique from Jiu-Jitsu, Wing Chun, fencing, boxing and other combination of martial arts, which, speaking of, Spike has a tendency to perform high kicks of French boxing. He is also well versed in weaponry such as his personal Jericho 941, as well as other guns and explosives. Finally, after all of these skills and abilities, Spike is a pilot. Yes guys, if you guys haven't noticed, he flies a converted asteroid racer called Swordfish 2, which is armed with 4 machine guns, multiple missile launchers and a single plasma cannon. It was created by mecha designer Kimitoshi Yamane. Yamane was a big fan of the English biplane torpedo bomber ferry Swordfish, which led him to name the Swordfish 2 after the bomber. Now the Swordfish 2, along with Spike's piloting skills, is shown more in detail in episode 19 Wild Horses, and from that we can see that Spike's piloting skill is off the charts. All in all, Spike's overall ability and skills outlines why he's so good at his bounty hunting job. Okay, so when it comes down to Spike's relationship and love life, Spike, as described by Watanabe, is a character that has a habit of being very indirect with his emotions. He may behave indifferent or harsh towards someone he actually likes. For example, this can apply towards a theorized love interest, Faye Valentine. They have a somewhat complicated relationship between bickering and showing concern and empathy for one another. Later on, the affection between them becomes quite obvious, which leads viewers to believe that Faye might be in love with Spike. Can the same be said for Spike though? Well, in an interview, Watanabe himself says, "Sometimes I am asked the question, what does Spike think of Faye? I think that he likes her quite a bit, but he's not a straightforward person and makes sure not to show it." Well, in my opinion, more than likely Faye and Spike would have been a great couple if Spike had let go of his past. In actuality, with all that, Spike's main love interest is actually a woman named Julia from his past. The first time he saw her was during a pool game, which can be implied that he fell in love with her at first sight. Later on, Spike gets wounded from a gun battle and he is then nursed back to health by Julia. It turns out she is actually Vicious's girlfriend, who once was Spike's best friend and partner, but later they turned into deadly rivals. This might be due to the fact that Spike seemed to be having an affair with Julia. Anyways, Julia and him made the decision to leave the syndicate together, but eventually Vicious uncovers their plans to escape. He then blackmailed Julia, telling her that if she doesn't kill Spike, they would both end up dead. Spike then stages his own death and tells Julia to meet him at a cemetery where they will both run away together. However, she couldn't find the strength to kill the man she is in love with, so instead decides to go into hiding as she is afraid of Vicious killing them both. Spike was left waiting in the rain, feeling as though he had been betrayed. He walks away painfully, putting an end to their relationship. But either way, at the end of Cowboy Bebop, Spike and Julia are reunited only for it to end in tragedy, where most of you guys should know what happens. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you reckon that Spike should have ended up with Faye, or would that have been just a typical storyline? Let me know in the comment section below. For the Japanese dub, Spike is voiced by Koichi Yamadera, the same dude who voiced Beerus from Dragon Ball Super, Ryuji Kaji from Neon Genesis, and Silver Zoldyck from Hunter x Hunter, along with many other characters. Regarding his casting, Watanabe had always pictured Yamadera to be really perfect for the role of Spike, and his audition was really only just formalities, as Watanabe had felt that no matter how you looked at it, there was only Yamadera. Yamadera, after a decade of working in various anime series, was delighted to secure his first first leading role. And as I mentioned earlier, Spike's character was based off the famous actor Yusaku Matsuda, and although Yamadera was a fan of Matsuda, he chose not to imitate his distinctive manner of speaking, remarking that it would not have sounded right for Spike. Now for the English dub, Spike is voiced by Stephen Blum, the same voice for Mugen from Samurai Champloo, Orochimaru, Zabuza and others from Naruto, along with many other cool characters. In an interview with Stephen Blum, he mentioned that he used film noir to get himself in the right frame of mind to voice Spike's character. Stephen Blum had also said that he came across some difficulty when trying to portray Spike's more vulnerable side. Reminiscing on his performance, Blum stated, "There were a few lines here and there that I felt were awkward and could have been smoothed out better." He also called Spike an example of a character he didn't really appreciate until the series was over, finally adding that if given a chance he would like to have another shot at this role, but personally I think he did amazingly well. Now, I already mentioned Watanabe's inspiration for the creation of Spike's character, but among the Cowboy Bebop community, a lot of fans link Spike's story to Eric Draven from the 1994 film The Crow. Eric Draven, funnily enough, was played by Brandon Lee, the son of Bruce Lee, who was also a massive influence to Spike's character. Now, there are a couple of similarities between the two. Eric and Spike are both experienced in fighting with weapons and martial arts. They were both shown to be in love with a beautiful woman who ends up dead, and both sets out to avenge their loved ones. Both of them also clashed with their adversaries in an abandoned church and succeeded in killing them in a violent but poetic fashion. Now, I wouldn't say for certain that Watanabe used this movie for inspiration, but it's possible. After all, The Crow is very famous due to the incident of Brandon's death, along with the movie itself being a massive hit. Let me know what you guys think. Can you guys see the similarities, and is there any more? Let me know in the comment section below. The conclusion of Spike's story and his final battle with Vicious was actually planned by Watanabe well in advance. Yeah, Watanabe didn't make this stuff up as he went along. With each episode featuring them, it was meant to foreshadow their final confrontation. Some of the staff members didn't really agree with this approach and was very unhappy about it, as a possible continuation of the series would be difficult. This led Watanabe to consider an alternative ending, but he ultimately stuck with his original idea, given the reason that he didn't want the series to become something like Star Trek, with him being stuck doing this series for years. However, among the fans, there is a dispute whether Spike officially died at the end, cause let's be honest now, saying bang and falling over doesn't really represent someone dying, like he could have lost his consciousness. And in a 2006 interview with Watanabe and the Daily Texan, the death of Spike comes up and Watanabe had this to say: "I never officially said he's dead. At this point, I can tell you that I'm not sure if he's alive or dead. I think probably rather than being yelled at for killing Spike, I think people are more upset that I might make a continuation." Which, to be fair, I have to agree with him. In fact, Watanabe himself didn't really decide on an absolute conclusion, as he himself feels confused to when the plot actually concluded. His theory about the conclusion goes like this: it is either a dream sequence and the whole story already concluded before episode 1 Asteroid Blues, or everyone died after episode 11 Toys in the Attic, or simply just a chronological ending, which, to be honest, is universally accepted. And lastly, the story never ended. It simply stops, as there is nothing left to tell the audience, with each character continuing their lives. Well, let me know what you guys think. What conclusion sounds the most reasonable to you lot? So now that there is pretty much little to no chance for a continuation of the anime, if you lot want more of Spike Spiegel, then you guys can, as Spike can be seen making appearances in other medias, such as a movie, manga adaptation, and a video game. Spike is once again the main protagonist in the Cowboy Bebop the movie. The movie is set before he meets his ambiguous fate in the series. The crew are still together this time around, trying to obtain the massive bounty for Vincent Walaju, who releases deadly protein-based nanomachines in Mars, capital city. Spike can also be seen in the manga adaptation of Cowboy Bebop and the alternative manga Cowboy Bebop Shooting Stars. There is even a PlayStation 2 video game where you guys can play as Spike and pilot the Swordfish 2, going through preset course and taking part in aerial battles. So yeah, there's still much more of Spike left to see. Alright guys, it's time for a blazing round. Spike was born on Mars on June the 26th, 2044, giving him the zodiac sign of Cancer. By the end of the series, Spike is 27 years of age, which can also be seen as a reference to the 27 Club, consisting of many famous musicians who had died at that age. Spike is 185 centimeters or 6 feet 1 inch tall. Unfortunately, his weight is unknown. Spike has a blood type of O, and he goes by the alias of Swimming Bird. Not much is revealed about his family or childhood besides his grandmother dying before he he was born. Some believe that his parents died when he was young, leaving him an orphan. Spike is almost always shown with a cigarette in nearly every shot or episode, which insinuates he's a hardened smoker addicted to them. And initially it was believed the only reason why Spike's hair is green was due to the lightning in the anime, but when Tanabe later revealed Spike's hair is actually the color of dark green. Okay, with that we have summed up the space cowboy bounty hunter Spike Spiegel. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to show us some love by smashing that like button and subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay updated for more videos like this. With that, I'll see you guys till next time.